Hi guys, welcome along. Lucas Rogers speaking from the Rogers Property Group. I'd like to talk to you today about tax variation forms. We've had a letter in from a client requesting some information on what is a tax variation form and how they actually work. We've had a couple of questions coming up in recent times about tax because we are in March 2024 now. We're not too far away from tax season, so there's a few questions piling in regarding how to reduce tax, how to make sure we get our maximum amount of deductions. And the one I selected today was regarding withholding tax variation forms. Let me explain to you, I suppose, initially how the tax system works. So most of us here in Australia are on what we call a PAYG system. So that's pay as you go. So that means we're paying tax as we go along throughout the year. So each week, assuming we get paid weekly, our employer is taking a portion of tax out of our pay, paying us the net, and then remitting the tax payment to the ATO. So what a tax variation form does is this. If you've got enough tax deductions throughout the year that you can assume for a moment that you're going to get, say, $10,000 back in cash at the end of the year, well then rather than waiting till the end of the year to get your $10,000 back, is what you do is you vary that tax with the ATO. So what we would do is we'd send off what we call a withholding tax variation form. It can be done online at the ATO website. It's very easy to find, a PAYG withholding tax variation form. The form itself is fairly easy to fill out. It'll probably take you around about, initially maybe an hour to fill out. That's the first time out, but for the following years you probably have it down to 20 or 30 minutes quite easily, depending on your circumstances. So what it's going to go on to do is you're going to say to the ATO, rather than being on, say, $100,000 a year at the moment, just picking an income, you're going to have a number of tax deductions coming through from your property, and those tax deductions can include things like interest repayments, maintenance, insurances, property management fees, and so on. So those tax deductions are going to reduce your overall taxable income. So maybe your taxable income might come down from $100,000 to, let's call it $70,000. And assuming out of that, you're going to get $10,000 back at the end of the year in cash from the ATO in overpaid tax. So what the tax variation form does is lets the ATO know that you have these tax deductions coming through and that the amount of tax that you need to pay to the ATO has been greatly reduced. So what the ATO says is, okay, well look, rather than you waiting till the end of the year to get your $10,000 back in cash, you're going to get it back in your weekly pay packet. So the ATO is going to take, or the employer is going to take less tax out of your pay on the way through. So assuming for a moment that you are entitled to $10,000 back at the end of the year and you get paid weekly, assuming 50 weeks of the year, well, it means you're going to get $200 back extra in your pay each week. Now, that has a big influence on our cash flows for our property because $200 per week is like raising your rents by $200 per week, but it's just coming from a different source. Now, for those of you who maybe have one investment property, well, it may not be the difference between, living and dying if you're not getting your $200 per week back. But when you have a portfolio of 3, 4, 5 properties where each of those properties is giving you back, upwards of $100 per week, well, it can be a significant amount of cash flow that you're missing out on. And even if the cash flow doesn't mean do or die for you, well, why not get that cash flow back throughout the year and maybe put it into an offset account against your home loan, thus reducing your interest rates. So guys, that's really what we're talking about when it comes to a withholding tax variation form. As I said, you can do them quite simply online at the ATO website, PAYG withholding tax variation form, or what you can do is you can get your accountant to do it to be a little bit more accurate. So guys, if you have any further questions regarding tax, feel free to email the office with any questions. If you'd like me to do a talk about one, or if you've got any personal questions you'd like me to answer, feel free to email me personally. Take care guys, and we'll see you again soon.